Hello, ladies. This week we are looking at Nehemiah chapter 4, verses 14 and also verse 20. Now, the main theme and the overall title of the message is Our God Will Fight for Us. Raise your hand if you need that encouragement this week, today, especially now. Our God will fight for us. And what we see as we dive a little bit deeper into Nehemiah's story, what that looks like, and the role we play and how God fights for us. So I'm going to go ahead and read verse 14 first. After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, "Don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, and your wives and your homes." So it's this idea that recollection and remembrance of the Lord and what He has done for us and what He has given us will empower us to move forward in His will and with His strength, because it's not our own strength in which we fight our battles, it is through God's strength. And another thing we need to remind ourselves is found in verse 20. Wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us. So Nehemiah at this point had set up kind of the system, this communication system, if you will. He had already has each member and each person who is in charge building the wall either has a weapon as they're trying to build the wall and have a weapon of protection and of defense, or has a guard standing in the gap for them to protect them from the opposition that was coming against them. So this idea is that the trumpet would just be the sound that they would need to hear and they would need to understand and recognize in order to collect and join together to fight that big fight and to fight that strong fight. So what I want to point out here specifically is that both of these verses show that Nehemiah and the officials and the followers had a responsibility. We know that God worked through Nehemiah in a very special way to give a spiritual awakening to the people of Judah. And through this, we see that Nehemiah was three things specifically. One, Nehemiah was obedient. Two, Nehemiah was very aware of his opposition and the enemies and the forces that were coming against him. And three, Nehemiah was constantly in prayer and constantly seeking the Lord for guidance and direction and clarity. Now, I want to ask you a question though. When we think that the Lord will fight for us, some of us perhaps might have a tendency to want to step back and do nothing. The Lord will fight for us, so why are we going to do nothing? And I think of Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you, be still. Now, that doesn't mean be still as in do nothing. That means be still as in rest, pause, think. So it's this idea that everything you are doing is in step and in tune with what the Lord has for you. And specifically, I think of the two major issues that are going on in our world right now. One would be COVID. So we have a responsibility to protect ourselves. We have been given all of the tools, all of the resources, all of the means in which to protect ourselves. Social distancing, wearing a mask, disinfecting our house like crazy, all of these things, right? We can protect ourselves, so we can use these things that God has given us, these tools and these resources to protect ourselves. But ultimately, our faith and our hope is not in the mask itself, and our faith and our hope is not in our ability to social distance or remember to disinfect and wash our hands extra. None of that, right? Ultimately, it is the Lord God who is in control. Therefore, it is the Lord God who will fight for us. He is the ultimate say so. He is the ultimate person who is going to give us what we need and even allow us to experience these times that will strengthen us and will reunite us and make us stronger than we had before. So with Nehemiah specifically, he is counting on the Lord for that guidance, and he is counting on the Lord for that reassurance, and he's taking all the precautions necessary in the way and the tools and the resources that God has given him. However, he also is allowing himself to be in tune with how the Lord plans to use him and how the Lord continues to equip him and encourage him despite of what's going on. I want to leave us with an encouragement that the Lord will send us community, and the Lord will send us resources and abilities that we need to accomplish the task that He has done for us. Our challenge then as believers is to make sure that we are staying in tune and we're staying in sync with what God has for us. I want to leave you with a verse, Psalm 127:1. Unless the Lord builds the house, its builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchmen stand guard in vain. Nehemiah's big secret is that he was doing the Lord's work. So he allowed God to fight for him through him. And I encourage you, ladies, do the same thing. Lean into God, do God's work, allow Him to fight for you and to fight on behalf of your battles. So it's an invitation to lean into God, not a call for us to step away from Him. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to this message, and I hope you have a blessed week.